Hello guys, welcome here to another edition of Out of Turn 4. My name is Brian. Let's get going right away. Let's not waste any time. Of course, we will start out by talking some of the latest headlines that have happened in the last week in auto racing. We will then, of course, as mentioned in the last show, we will make our season predictions for the NASCAR Cup Series. So you won't want to miss that, of course. I don't have the full field of 16 that I think will make the playoffs, but I will give you a good estimate of who I believe gets in. And I will give you a good estimate. I will give you my championship 4. That I will give you. But picking 16 might be a little difficult at this time. But we start out with the latest headlines. Busch Light. This is big news out of racing. Busch Light has done a big deal with NASCAR in the last few years. Of course, sponsoring the Clash. Now a premier partner with NASCAR. Now you can add to it a driver development program. That's right. Busch Light is investing $10 million over 3 years to help women in their driver program. Of course, 3 big names stand out on the list here. Of course, keep in mind the driver rule had to be these women must be 21 or over. So these 3 drivers are the most noteworthy of all the drivers that Busch announced would be their drivers in development. And that is Natalie Decker, Tony Bredinger, and Jennifer Jo Cobb. Yes, you heard that right. Jennifer Jo Cobb is a part of the inaugural Busch Light driver program. Of course, Busch will give out sponsorship money as well as track time, media exposure, and training to get these drivers prepped for the NASCAR Cup Series. I've got to tell you, I love this. I love it a lot. It's honestly a really good deal. It's great to see Busch investing to help women get to the big times. Of course, Natalie Decker, she needs a lot more seat time. She's not quite there yet. Jennifer Jo Cobb has had this day coming for a while. Jennifer Jo Cobb has been slowly plugging away. I mean, yeah, she's been driving for her own race team, but she's built quite a good team. Not a winning team by any stretch, but nonetheless still a good team. And then Tony Bredinger, she's impressing in ARCA. She's looking pretty decent. I think definitely more seat time would help her out. But, Natalie Decker, of course, the highest driver on that list. It's too bad it won't help her run a full season in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, let alone the Truck Series, where she could have really stayed and worked on her craft a little bit. But, I do have questions about Natalie Decker being in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, but, again, no announcements have been made in terms of her driving schedule this season that I know of. So, again, I have not heard anything yet. I will keep you posted if and when we hear something. The other big story, Indycar is testing at Sebring one last time prior to St. Petersburg on February 27th. One big name is testing for Chip Ganassi Racing, and no, it is not a current driver in their Indycar roster. Surprise. It was Kevin Magnussen, their IMSA driver. He joined Chip Ganassi Racing for the Indycar test at Sebring, and of course, I've got to imagine this could lead to future IndyCar events. Now, of course, Chip Ganassi Racing has a full driver roster for this season. Tony Kanaan will be driving the Indy 500 for the team. You've got Scott Dixon, Alex Palou, the defending champion, and then Jimmy Johnson, as well as Marcus Ericsson. So you've already got 5 drivers. I don't know if Tony Kanaan is running the other ovals. I imagine he is just sticking to the 500. But this could be a big step forward in terms of Kevin Magnussen running full-time. If you recall, he filled in for Felix Rosenqvist at Road America after the crash that he sustained at the Detroit Grand Prix. So, Magnussen did get a little bit of seat time with Arrow McLaren Schmidt-Peterson, but to see him get seat time with one of the better IndyCar teams, you got to imagine he might be on the radar this offseason, and I would love to see that. I think having Magnussen in IndyCar would be a thrill. I would like to see it, so hopefully this works out in Magnussen's favor. The final entry into the Daytona 500 was confirmed today, or yesterday rather. Greg Biffle, and this was rumored for weeks, it is now confirmed. Greg Biffle will drive the 44 for New York Racing in the Daytona 500. That he will attempt to make his first NASCAR Cup Series start since 2016 when he ran with Roush Fenway, now Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing. He will have sponsorship from Grambling State and HBCU League Pass Plus. They will back his entry. There were rumors that a tobacco company was going to back his Daytona 500 efforts, but of course that got shot down as I would have expected. 42 cars will make up the entry list as mentioned for the Daytona 500. 47 for the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and of course 38 will make the race. This was confirmed by Bob Pockrass of Fox Sports. And 42 will attempt the truck race, with 36 making it in. And of course, again, the 42 car entry for the 500, 40 will make it. 2 will go home. I will give you that prediction at the end of the show. Of course, now I want to get on to some bold takes for the upcoming NASCAR Cup Series season. Of course, this is based on what I've seen in testing so far, so don't criticize too much just yet. Of course, keep in mind these are my bold takes. You can leave your bold takes in the comments and let me know what you think about my bold takes for this racing season in the NASCAR Cup Series. We might do the same kind of thing for IndyCar. Of course, the list will be a little bit shorter for that one because IndyCar doesn't quite require, IndyCar is a much shorter season. So anyway, here we go. Kaulig Racing, this is my first prediction. Kaulig Racing will have a breakout year. They will not lead the Chevy group by any means, but I could tell you one thing's for sure. Justin Haley will get his second and possibly his third career Cup win this season. And another thing, AJ Allmendinger will win 1 to 2 races, more than likely just one, in the Cup ride for Kaulig Racing, either at the Glen or at the Indy Road Course. He proved to be strong. I wouldn't even be shocked if that win comes at COTA, because he proved to be very strong on the road courses last season in an open car for Kaulig Racing. So, and of course, keep in mind, he won a big FU to the charter system that NASCAR refuses to get rid of. So, for AJ, this could be really big. Of course, and now for Kaulig Racing, this could be big. I'm telling you, we need more teams like this. Matt Kaulig has gone all in on the sport. He's built quite a culture up at Kaulig Racing, and I'm telling you, I can't get enough of this team. But honestly, Haley looked really good in the Coliseum Clash there. He looked really good in that race. And I'd even imagine he's going to run good on the short tracks. I mean, keep in mind, he almost won at Richmond, I believe, 2 years ago in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. So it shouldn't come as a surprise that maybe even one of those wins comes on a short track. But more than likely, I will tell you, Justin Haley will win on a restrictor plate for sure. That I can bet on. But I imagine that's a Chevy team that'll bear watching throughout the entire season, so long as Allmendinger is in the 16, and of course Haley is in the 31 full time. My next bet, I'm predicting that Ford will find their mojo once again. They'll find their way back to victory lane, and mainly Stewart-Haas Racing will have a breakout season. big season for them, and I think Harvick will lead the way with 4 wins. So what I will say is also Chase Briscoe will get his first career NASCAR Cup Series win. Again, we get practices back, something that Chase Briscoe needed his rookie year, and, I think more track time, more seat time to get Briscoe comfortable will benefit him. I think he gets a win. Almirola, I'm sorry to the Eric Almirola fans. I know it's his last Cup season, but I just don't see him making playoffs. And I especially don't see him getting a win this season. So, again, Stewart-Haas will break out. I don't see Cole Custer winning a race, but I wouldn't be shocked if he made it in on points. He will be on the cusp of making it in. That I can predict as well. Even Ryan Preece, when he runs for Rick Ware Racing, I think he will put up some competitive numbers for the team. So, moving on, of course, we're going to talk about another Chevy team. I think Hendrick Motorsports will struggle out of the gates. I'm just going to tell you right now. Of course, Kyle Larson's the defending champ. I think Chase will win 2 races in the regular season. Both those wins will come on road courses. Kyle Larson, he's going to make the playoffs. He will win the regular season again on points. I think as well Alex Bowman will have kind of a big year. He'll have 2-3 wins, He'll be in the running. He'll make the playoffs. I think all 4 make it in. But what I think is it'll mostly be, if anything, on points. Maybe Byron won't make it, but I have a feeling Bowman will. Bowman, Larson, Chase, I think, are for sure going to get in. I certainly think Larson won't win 10 races again. I think he'll win a lot. I think he'll be a force to be reckoned with, but he's not going to be, the outright dominant car week in and week out like he was last year. New car, of course, Hendrick struggled in the test sessions to find speed, so I think it's going to be a little bit of a slow start for him, but I think the road courses will be nice to him. I think the short tracks will be nice to them. Hopefully the 670 package will be even nicer to Hendrick, but again, I'm not going to hold my hopes up there. I think this is a Ford and Toyota season that we're about to witness. Another big, bold take. Now, of course, Joey Logano won the Clash. And Joey Logano looked pretty good for Team Penske, but I think it's another Penske driver that will have a breakout season. I think Ryan Blaney. Now, last season was his breakout year. This year, Ryan Blaney has a career year, and he leads the way for Team Penske. I think he will be in the regular season hunt, but I think especially he will have multiple race wins once again, one of them being probably on a super speedway. Maybe Auto Club Michigan will be ones to watch. I think Austin Cindric will endure growing pains. I just don't see him making the playoffs. I don't see him really finishing top 20. I would say 22nd, 21st in the points is a good estimate. His best results will, of course, come on the 6 road courses on the NASCAR Cup schedule next season, where I think he will pull out a couple top 5s, a couple top 10s, which, again, good for the resume, because a lot of teams are looking for road course ringers, seeing that we're trending in the direction where road courses are becoming a big part of the NASCAR Cup schedule, and generally just part of the NASCAR schedules across all 3 series. So, but obviously I don't feel like Cindric is in any danger whatsoever. But nonetheless, it'll be good for his resume. It'll be good for him. Of course, Cindric, a very strong road course driver, and he will be one to challenge Chase Elliott this year. But outside of the road courses, I see him struggling. I just don't see him putting up big numbers. I don't see him putting up any wins, really. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be a winless year. But again, time will tell. Trackhouse 2311 Racing. Now, those 2 teams, brand new to the series last year, they were expected to do pretty well. Trackhouse just bought out Chip Ganassi Racing. this year, and Kurt Busch has joined 23XI in a second car. I'm going to tell you right now, I think both teams find a way to get one, if not both, of their drivers to make the playoffs. Now, 23XI, it would be an easy guess to say Kurt Busch is going to be that guy to make the playoffs. I'm going to say not so fast. Don't rule out that Bubba is that one driver that makes the playoffs. But, of course, I think Kurt would be the much safer bet if you were going to bet anything on who makes the playoffs. But I will say that, again, for 23XI, they will struggle big time early. Toyota generally struggles with expansion teams. Eric Jones didn't put up his best numbers in the 77. So I think they will struggle big early, but they will find momentum toward the end of the regular season, and I think that's where Kurt Busch might get his usual 1 win a year, make it in, and then, of course, he'll be a force in the playoffs to make the round of 8. If he gets in, of course. I think Daniel Suarez, will start out hot. Maybe a win, maybe not. But I think he will start out really hot to open the season. He really showed he's strong at the Clash, of course, and he's shown to be very strong in testing. So whatever they picked up from Chip Ganassi Racing was huge. And, of course, I think they will also make the playoffs, again, most likely on points. I think he's going to lead the way. I think he's the safe bet. But Ross Chastain has been known to outperform equipment. Of course, he will experience growing pains as well, being with the new team. But he does have the same crew chief, so again, a little bit of familiarity with him and his crew chief. So I think it won't be as rough compared to Kurt Busch at 23XI, who's getting reacclimated with Billy Scott. But nonetheless, it will be a little bit of a struggle out of the gates because, again, you're adjusting to a whole new race team in general, like new ownership, new everything. Here might be a reach in terms of all my bold takes for the NASCAR Cup season. I think this is a reach, but I wouldn't put it past them. RCR, Richard Childress Racing, they struggled with the Gen 6 car. The Gen 7 car, I think, is gracious to the team. RCR will come back to prominence, and I'm going to tell you another thing. They will be the lead Chevy team this season. Not Hendrick Motorsports, not Colleague Racing, not Team Trackhouse. It will be Richard Childress Racing leading the way for Team Chevy this season. And the charge will be led by Tyler Reddick, the NASCAR Xfinity Series champion 2 years in a row before making his Cup leap. Reddick will have a breakout year, 1, 2, maybe 3 wins. And then Dillon will probably win a race himself. So that is my prediction right there. RCR again. Tyler Reddick has proven to be very strong, and he is without question the lead driver over at RCR. It's not Austin Dillon anymore. Tyler Reddick is the face of the team, whether Richard Childress and Austin Dillon want to admit it or not. He is the face of the team now. Tyler Reddick is a really talented young driver, and he has a lot of poise and potential to him, and probably one of the best drivers that RCR has signed in recent years. So I really do have high faith in Richard Childress Racing and the number 8 team most specifically. 13 drivers will make it in on wins. Every year, people predict, we're going to have 16 different winners. Last year was no exception. In fact, last year, it was more echoed across media than I care to repeat. I think 13 drivers will make it on points. Or on wins. I'm sorry, 13 will make it on wins, 3 on points. I can tell you I don't think Front Row Motorsports will make it back in. I said I don't believe Eric Almirola makes it in. I won't tell you who those 13 are, but I will tell you, of course, 3 of the Hendrick cars, I think, make it in, as I mentioned. I expect Reddick to make it in. And then 2311 and Trackhouse may more than likely make it in on the points situation. A little bit easier than last year. As far as my Championship 4, my not so early Championship 4 predictions, I'm predicting Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, and Martin Truex Jr. That is my predictions for the Championship 4 here in February. Those will be the 4 we see in November at Phoenix. Again, so Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, and Martin Truex Jr. That will be your Championship 4 at the end of the year. That is my prediction. Blaney's had a breakout year last year. Again, I think he has a really strong run this year. As far as who makes the field for the 500, I can tell you right now who I think won't make the field for the Daytona 500. I think Jacques Villeneuve is the guy that stands out the most in terms of that, and Greg Biffle, unfortunately. Sorry, Biff fans. I think you're going to have to wait for another race if Biffle gets another one. But I think Jacques Villeneuve, Greg Biffle, they will both miss the Daytona 500. New York Racing Team didn't get the testing in the preseason. I think that will hurt them with the next gen. I think it's crippling. And that's a team, much like the money team, they need to make this race, okay? We know how steep the costs have been for the next gen chassis and bodies and everything. The startup costs have been astronomical from what I've heard. I think Noah Gragson, J.J. Yaley, Timmy Hill, Kaz Grala, they'll make it in. Here's the thing. I think Kaz Grala's proven he can step into any ride and he can compete. I think that's a very fair assumption about Kaz Grala. He can jump into almost any car and he can compete right off the bat. So I expect that here. Again, I think Biffle will compete in the duels. That I will say. I think Biffle will compete. He'll barely miss out. What I see, though, is Jacques Villeneuve is still an aggressive driver. I think he's really going to take himself out of the hunt. I think what's going to hurt him is himself, to say the least. And then I didn't have this down, but this is my final prediction after reading an article from Adam Stern. We will have a driver this year that enters both the Indianapolis 500 and the Coca-Cola 600. And if you saw what Adam Stern tweeted earlier, you know what driver I'm talking about. Kyle Larson, I think, will be the driver to run both the the Indianapolis 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 in May. And who will Kyle Larson drive for? I think he will drive a fourth team Penske car. He will drive the number 22 for the team. I think that is my first bet. My second bet would be Andretti Autosport in the number 25. I think those two rides are the most likely for Kyle Larson, but he will drive for a good team in the Indianapolis 500, and he will also run the Coke 600 later in the day. So for the first time in a long time, we will see this. For the first time since Kurt Busch did it. So those are my predictions for the upcoming season in NASCAR. A reminder, Friday, we hope you tune in here to YouTube and Facebook Watch on the Tinkle platforms. We will have our Daytona race weekend preview show. That will be at noon Eastern, so if you have a lunch hour, we hope to kick off your lunch hour here on Tinkle Sports and Entertainment with some racing news. We will recap the duels, the practices, the qualifying sessions that we can recap. Again, that'll be noon Eastern, YouTube, Facebook Watch. It'll be Daytona only discussion. And then, of course, next Tuesday, the 22nd, we will get you set for the NTT IndyCar Series season. And we will also have our Daytona recap. So that's coming your way. Again, we will see you on Friday for sure, and then of course we'll be back here next Tuesday. Be sure to tune in tomorrow as well to No Final Bell. That airs at 5 p.m. Eastern. Jason and Marty going to be talking some more AEW with you all, so you will not want to miss it. Again, that is over on our YouTube platform, so be sure to stay tuned for that. Thank you all for watching. We will see you all hopefully on Friday afternoon. Until then, goodbye everyone.